This
Okay.
video was made
Wait,
possible.
wait. Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'm back after a month and a half. I know it's been a long time. You guys have been waiting for more videos, and here we are. So yes, we're going to be reacting to a new oversimplified video called the Pig War, which I actually don't know anything about the Pig War. I have no idea what this is. So, but the surprising thing is 1.35 to 88 million views in just 10 hours, which is insanity. Anyways, so yeah, let's get started. Full screen, 3, 2, 1, go.
By NordVPN. Click the link below to stay safe online and get a huge discount off a 2-year plan with a
And this is
30-day
gonna be a
money-back
two-part
guarantee.
video. Though
Trouble sleeping?
this is only gonna be a two-part series because the video is insanely long. So like 119 part, 119 part. So
Need someone to snuggle?
90
Then
minutes.
why not snuggle? Me! The limited edition Oversimplified plushie is available for pre-order for a few days only. Get it quick along with some beautiful new character pins. Look at us, boys. We've only gone and bloody done it. We beat the Brits and secured independence. Now to expand westward and conquer
Thomas
the rest
Jefferson.
of the continent. Thomas? It looks like a bunch of different people already live out west. What? Oh no. That means we can't expand. I hate my life. Whoa. I didn't say they were white people.
Yeah, that's the truth at the time. They would supposing the British they had colonized that area like past the Mississippi. Supposing the British had actually the Spanish and French had, but they didn't really put settlers in there. But if the British had, they had put settlers. Then they were white people, so they wouldn't have America wouldn't have manifest destiny. Manifest destiny is basically America wants everything, from the Atlantic Ocean and everything on the North American continent, everything north of Mexico, south of Canada, from Maine to California. Anything from there, that's what they want. So that's why they encroach on Native American land like this. So it's sad but true. Yeah, I know the pig war. It's really odd, but
At the end of the Revolutionary War, when the United States secured its independence from Great Britain, the two
yeah,
sides met in Paris to settle the
that's
terms.
true. The
Among
Treaty of
various
Paris,
things, they discussed American
the border,
territorial gains, and the British granted them a generous amount of land out west. However,
pretty
Benjamin
generous.
Franklin appeared to have an additional fascination. Oh, Canada. So voluptuous. You think we can maybe acquire some of that? Quit ogling our territory. But look at those curves. I'd worry less about Canada's curves and more about your own curves, Benjamin.
Wow, roasted. Of course, he was a really fat person, so yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Many in America suggested that one day the Canadian colonies should become a part of the United States. In response, Britain suggested that many in America should shut the hell up. Well, if Britain wasn't going to give up Canada, then the two
They
sides
need a
had to
border.
agree on where to put their border. Easy enough for the most part. Follow some existing borders,
Yeah.
add in a few rivers and lakes, maybe even a
Yeah,
parallel
that's
for
what.
good measure. But then there was a question. What would happen here?
Straight line?
Straight line, and so it was.
Exactly
The border
what I
would go
thought.
from the northwesternmost point of this perfectly
But this,
oval-shaped lake
but
and
this
continue
lake
in a
is not
straight line
perfectly
westward
oval
until it
shaped.
met the Mississippi
Wow.
River. Perfect. Or was it? Well, as it turned out, the lake didn't actually look like this.
Yeah,
but like
that's
this.
true.
And
It's
the
not perfectly
Mississippi
oval.
wasn't here,
Yes, like
but
that.
here. So
Wait,
in the
what?
end,
It's
none
there.
of that made even the slightest bit of sense.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
blame
why
the founding
that's the
fathers.
part of
They were just using the best map
Canada.
available. Blame the guy who made it. But to the minds of the day, the issue had been solved.
Wow, smart. Yeah, so this is Spanish Louisiana and Spanish Mexico and all that. Basically, New Spain. And then this is British Canada. And then this is the US.
And it was finally time to start getting along. Oh, back
Nope.
to war they go.
War of
The
1812.
glorious War of 1812 saw the Americans try to invade Canada and the British burn down the White House.
Yep,
But when all
that's
was
true.
said and done, it was pretty much a draw. And once again, America and Britain had to enter into peace negotiations. By now, both sides realized the original border they came up with was a piece of hot garbage.
True.
And since America had also recently obtained a huge amount of land from Napoleon, they decided they would need to
They have to
re-examine the border issue.
Add some more bits. Straight line.
straight line, straight line. And
Yep.
so it was. To fix the problems of the previous border agreement, they decided to go from the northwesternmost point of this lake, as had been previously agreed, down to the 49th parallel, and from there the line would go straight as an arrow up until the Rocky Mountains. But beyond the Rockies, the two sides couldn't quite agree on where it would go
Oregon,
next, because
Oregon
both
country.
sides claimed the territory beyond the Rockies was theirs. See,
They shared it
throughout
for
its
a
early
period of time,
history,
actually.
America as a nation had its eyes heavily fixated on all that juicy land
Yep.
out west, ripe for invasion.
Wait. The forests of Washington, Oregon, and the small deserts in like this part of Wyoming and all that stuff, and California, Texas, all that stuff here in Mexico. But this part especially because of they could log there. There were many rivers which were very helpful to the population there because there are a lot of forests. So that's why. Well, California and all. Well, Texas, especially the one for the ranches, because they could have a lot of pasture animals and all that stuff. So,
Had
yeah.
its eyes heavily fixated on all that juicy land out west, ripe for invasion.
Yep.
Settlementation.
Wow.
America wanted to expand. Not only was it their right, some believed it was a destiny given to them by God himself to
Most
multiply
probably
and
not.
spread across the continent, like rats or disease. Okay, guys, just before we take over everything, God definitely said this is what we're meant to do, right?
Nope.
Yeah, that's what he said, right?
Nope. Not at all.
And who was it who spoke to God? It was Billy, right?
Some random dude.
I hear voices all the time. Well, it was
I actually
one of
don't
us. There's no way we made this
No.
whole thing up to justify a ruthless collective imperialist
Yep.
tendencies. All
They made it up to justify ruthless imperialist tendencies.
right. Well, in that case, let's get out there and make the world a better place,
Nope.
just as God intended.
Maybe actually. They killed all the bison. The railroad was established.
This belief in
And
divine destined
McDonald's.
expansion would later be given its very own name, Manifest Destiny. But America wasn't the only one interested in controlling the Western territories.
True.
At the time, Canada
The
was made up
Brits.
of a number of colonies, collectively referred to as British North America. This one over here was owned
Rupert's
by the
Land.
Hudson's Bay Company, a British charter company dedicated to turning as many beavers as possible
Lol.
into as many felt hats as possible, as
Wow.
quickly as possible.
Lol.
And the indigenous
That's
people
true.
became a key supplier. As a result, the British were also eager to control the land out west and secure that
Yeah,
region's valuable
because there were a ton of
resources, and in
beavers
particular,
there.
The Great Columbia River
Yep.
was deemed vital to the beaver business. So when it came to the question of what would happen to the border beyond the Rockies, the conversation went a little like this. The line should keep going straight because we're manifestly destined to gain the entire North American continent. No, we need this river so we can keep scalping beavers.
True.
Look, why don't we just draw the border along the river? That way we both have access to it. Well, that would be a completely fair compromise
Yeah,
that protects
but
the interests of
they
both
won't
parties.
take it.
And there's no way I'm ever going to agree to
Yep.
it! Having come to a roadblock, both sides simply agreed that for now, they would jointly occupy
Yeah,
the
that's the
Northwestern
thing which I was
Territory.
telling
They-
about slightly earlier in the video. They both jointly occupied it, but that was not. How do I say? That was not like fair. I mean, the Americans outnumbered the British 6-1. So yeah, so that's why it was not fair. So the Americans basically dominated the area. So then the British actually ceded half of it to them and half of it to the US and agreed on the straight line compromise.
They were both
I
free
know
to
that
settle and
bit,
trade
but
there.
really
But rest
nothing
assured,
much
the
about
agreement
this war.
was only temporary.
Yep,
Eventually
true.
somebody would get their way.
The US.
Listen, Yank, we can jointly occupy this land, but I ain't sharing anything
True.
else. I don't want to see you using my toothbrush.
Lol.
I don't want to catch
Dude.
you wearing my underwear. And I don't want to catch you using my computer. and selling my
And
data to
wow,
advertisers.
and
Well,
well,
then you, my
NordVPN.
friend, should use NordVPN. Me neither. And over 60, all your devices to use. Known to annoying pop-up in your country. Go to NordVPN plus send a thank you
Okay,
for free.
just
And as
look
always,
at this. NordVPN.com Oversimplified. Whoever wants to use it, just do it.
bickering over boundaries, manifesting destiny, and a joint
Lol, the
occupation
bison just go
of
flying.
Oregon. And one man living here who felt the territory should be British
Some dude,
was
I'm not
James
sure about his name.
Douglas,
Yeah,
the
James
Hudson's Bay
Douglas.
Company's no-nonsense chief factor at Fort
True,
Vancouver.
he was.
Ah, what a beautiful, unspoiled corner of the British Empire. I've got my spotted dick, my Spice Girls fan club membership, and an unrelenting negative outlook on life that affects everyone around me. What are you looking at, Stephen? Yes. Truly British.
Yeah.
What the?
Wait. That's. Oh. No. No.
The problem for men like Douglas was that many Americans had already begun streaming up the
Oregon
Oregon Trail.
Trail.
Gunslinging, howdy neighboring, and diarrhea having. By the thousands,
Dysentery.
they were pouring into the Oregon Territory in search of land to settle and farm. This, however, crowded out the fur trade, and eventually,
no.
the very bitter Douglas and the other Hudson's Bay traders at Fort Vancouver were ordered to relocate north to a new base of operations.
Fort
But the
Victoria.
Americans keep coming, and they don't stop coming. Hopped in their wagons, and they hit the ground running. Didn't make sense to keep sharing Oregon when they outnumbered the Brits more than 6-1. And suddenly,
Yeah.
the whole joint occupation deal was being called into question. Newly elected President Polk maintained that America had an
Polk.
obvious claim to the entire region, even implying a possible war with Britain.
54
Fiery
miles
language
per
from
hour.
U.S. senators declared that American rifles would annihilate the Hudson's Bay Company in
Yeah,
Oregon, and
that's
America
what-
even gave Britain notice that it was pulling out of the joint occupation agreement. The British were alarmed as the two sides stood on the brink
Yeah, but
of
they didn't
war.
really do
But in the
much.
end, neither truly wanted
Except,
to fight.
like,
The British
divide
favored
the land,
maintaining good
which is
economic
pretty
relations,
good.
while the Americans had already gotten themselves into
Yeah.
a war with Mexico.
If they
So
got
after a
two
bit of
wars,
back and
then
forth, the
Britain
British
and
finally
Mexico
said,
could ally.
"Fine, you wanted a straight line?
We'll give you a
There.
straight line."
There's your straight line." And so,
No.
the agreement was made. The border would continue directly to the Strait of Georgia. But because the British insisted they keep Vancouver Island, it would then move south through the center of the channel and on to the Pacific Ocean. Finally,
Yeah, but
the issue of the
which
northwest
channel?
border had been
Which channel?
solved. Hold the phone.
Discrepancy
Discrepancy
detected.
detected.
Yep.
Enhance frame, 200%.
Okay.
Enhance.
Those islands, like right there.
Enhance. Too far. Perfect. Now, show me
Wow.
the exact wording of the treaty. The line of boundary goes to the middle of the channel,
Yes.
and thence southerly through the middle of said channel. But there's loads of channels.
Yep.
So,
That's
you tell
true.
me, dear viewer, which channel is the treaty referring to? And
Yeah.
therefore, who owns these islands? Is the wording of the treaty maybe a little too vague? Well, that's exactly the problem encountered by the people living in the area. The
Yeah,
British
that's
insisted that the
super
channel
true.
intended by the treaty was the Rosario Strait, and therefore the islands were
Or the
British.
islands were British.
The Americans, on the other hand,
And then-
argued that the intended channel
And
was
then
the
the Americans saw this was this strait. So, but then the British made slight but then they said these are the straits here, here, and here, or here. But all the other compromises which could have been done. And this was a real issue at the time for both the US and Britain. But Britain didn't really care much for some amount of time.
the Harrow Strait, and therefore the islands were American. At times, the debate became rather heated. Even the individuals who negotiated and signed the treaty at times didn't seem entirely sure which channel the treaty meant, and representatives from the Hudson's Bay Company begged them to make it clearer. But thousands of miles away, the people in power simply had more to worry about than some tiny islands in
True.
the middle of nowhere.
Order.
All right, listen up. We got a lot to get through. The 7th Earl of Gissingham says he encountered a foul beast in the fields of Upper Fardingdom late last night. And put
Fardingdom.
this sketch together? That's a poor person, Darren. Ugh. Next, Lord Piddlingham says he has a new mole on his backside? How is that parliamentary business, George? Oh, some islands in the Pacific Northwest are in dispute and could lead to a war with America?
Boring.
Fine. Let's take a look at that mole, George. And so, for now, the islands were simply held in dispute. Were they British or were they American? I'm sure this conflict won't cause anyone
To die.
And one man
They'll
who
cause some
thought the
sheep and
islands were
pigs to die.
undeniably British was James Douglas,
Yeah.
now the governor of Vancouver Island. He had already once had American settlers encroach on his territory
That's
and
true.
force him to move. And by golly, he wasn't going to let it happen again. As far as he was concerned, those islands were not only British, but prime agricultural land. And
Yeah,
given the
that's
chance,
so
those
true.
glubby Yanks wouldn't
Yeah,
hesitate
they
to start
would
pitching flags with
just
their
put
glubby
flags
little
up.
hands.
That's
And
very
so,
true.
he came up with a plan.
His opinions were right. At the time, Americans wanted to expand as much as possible. Stay north of the Rio Grande, yes. But stay south of the 48th parallel and all the other borders, yes. So anything there, they're taking it, including the islands. and maybe even they were thinking about taking what's it called, um, Vancouver Island, but they thought no.
If the British settled the islands first, then that would surely secure them for Britain.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
so in
That's what they
1853,
thought,
Douglas
but
sent
that's
an
not the
Irishman by the name
case.
of Charles Griffin, along with
Charles
some
Griffin,
Hawaiian
yep.
shepherds, to go set up a sheep farm on San Juan Island. And set up a sheep farm they did. The place was rammed
Thousands,
with
not
sheep,
millions.
1,369 to be exact. But within those
Porky.
flocks of woolly cowards could also be found a number of beautiful,
Porky.
prized Berkshire pigs.
Yep.
Oh, Porky, you look stunning. You're the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Would you perhaps like to go to the island ball together tonight? Oink once for no. Roll around in that cow crap if yes. Yes! I'm covered in poo and I'm the luckiest man alive! But life on the island for Charles Griffin wasn't to be a perfect paradise of pig pageants. Because unfortunately for him, the Americans also believed the island was
Yeah,
theirs.
this is true.
One day, in 1854, an American customs collector was sailing around the islands
This
on the
dude.
outlook for bands of native tribesmen when he spotted something. Aha! I've got you now, you savages. Over yonder. Those are sheep, sir.
Those are
You say.
sheep.
What are they doing here? Let's go and negotiate.
This dude
with them.
looks insane.
Negotiate with
Negotiate with
sheep? Are you
sheep.
crazy? I'm perfectly stable, you rat bag. Call me crazy again.
Yeah, look at
hello,
your
good sir.
eyes.
We request to speak with your leader.
What?
Out of my way.
I'll eat your eyes. Okay, that's the weirdest thing I've heard.
Allow me to parley with this foul beast.
Found piece. It's the things you eat and have. Wow. They're talking.
Stop
I'll eat your
threatening my
eyes.
sheep. Your sheep? You mean to tell me that you, a British subject, have illegally imported these sheep into American territory? I'll have you know that you, an American, are currently trespassing on British territory.
Yep.
The Americans felt that they were entitled
What?
to collect taxes on the British property. You know, because the island was American, and they threatened seizure if dues weren't paid. The British, meanwhile, threatened to
eat their
arrest the
eyes.
Americans. You know, because the island was British, and the two sides were in a standoff.
Yep.
To give Charles Griffin the legal power to deal with the American trespassers, Douglas said, "Hey, put on this wig.
Magistrate.
You're a magistrate now." And in turn, Griffin went to one of his Hawaiian shepherds and said, "Hey, I'm making you a constable. Put on this badge."
Yeah,
British then went off to arrest the U.S. Customs inspector. But being an American, he
Four
emerged from
guns
his
and
tent
a knife
with
or
4
something.
pistols and a giant knife.
Yep.
So the Brits had to back down. Eventually, raids by northern tribes chased the U.S. officer from the island. But the Americans weren't done yet. Officials from nearby Whatcom County in Washington Territory
Yep.
believed the island fell under their jurisdiction, and they decided it was time to make the British pay up once and for all. They sent one Sheriff Barnes to go confront
Barnes.
Charles Griffin. Hey, you owe us
Yeah.
$80.33 for all this farm stuff you got here. Go suck an egg. Oh, I see. So that's how it is, huh? That's how it's gonna be, is it? That's the way in which things are, eh?
Okay.
That be how it will, is it?
He's
Will it
just
be how that
muttering
is,
gibberish
huh?
at this point.
That be the way in which things be the way they are, is it?
What?
Get off my
Okay,
property! So
get
the
off
sheriff and
my-
other Whatcom County officials
Okay, yeah, that was hilarious. The get off my property bit. And yeah, so I actually don't know much about this. So sorry, I'm not adding much information, and the video is going much faster than planned. So yeah.
felt they were now well within their rights to seize and auction off Griffin's sheep in order to recoup lost taxes. And who
Yeah,
would they auction these
that's true.
prized breeding rams off to but themselves? Then, in a pretty
No,
chaotic
sold
scene, they
to
worked
me.
to tie the rams to their boats. And when Charles
Wow.
Griffin came running to rescue his kidnapped sheep,
Guns.
being Americans, they pulled out guns on him, and he had to back down. In all, Charles Griffin lost
Furious.
34 breeding rams,
Wow.
and he was
That's
furious.
humongous
The British
amount
complained
at
to
the
the
time.
American government, who were shocked to hear what had been going on at their northwest border. And both governments told their officials in the area to back off. We're not trying to start a major war over some dumb sheep and a stupid island. But also, the islands are definitely ours. Under no
Ours.
circumstances let the other side have them.
Yeah, it sounds like an ad. The islands are definitely ours, and by no circumstances allow them having. It's like some copyright ad thingy which they've put in purposely for this.
For now, both governments agreed to set up yet another
Yep.
boundary commission to decide which channel was
Another-
the correct border. But it often devolved into petty bickering. The British
Yep.
did make one interesting suggestion, though. We could draw the border through this middle channel and split
Yeah,
the islands
that.
between us. Well, that would be a
Maybe
completely fair
not
compromise that
accepting.
protects the interests of both parties. And there's no way I'm ever going to agree to it! And
And
in
he
the
now has an
aftermath of the sheep raid,
AK-47.
James Douglas, still stationed at Fort Victoria, became even more cautious of American encroachment into his territory. Mr. Douglas, sir, it appears an Indian has discovered gold in the Fraser Canyon,
Uh-oh.
just north of here. Shut up! Keep
Yep.
your voice.
Things like this, like supposing when American things like this really make chaos and make countries claim land and make agreements useless. So, if you know the Mexican-American War, the Americans who could just conquer California thought about leaving it to indigenous lands for some time, but then, like 2 years later, the California Gold Rush happened. Some dude found gold in California, and that the agreement, yeah, failed. So yeah, and the same thing with the Black Hills in the U.S. The same thing. They entitled the Native Americans to land. Then they found gold there and all that stuff. So this thing could really get the British in trouble.
Down, boy. We can't risk those glubby
Lol.
Americans hearing about this, or our territory here will be infested with them.
Uh
Oh no!
oh. Lol.
The Fraser
No.
Canyon Gold Rush attracted a heap of Americans to the region. Some got lucky. Most
No.
did not. And of those that didn't, rather
Yeah,
than
most
returning all the way
people
home,
in gold
many simply
rushes
decided
did
to
not.
settle in the area. And in particular, the juicy green pastures of
Yep.
San Juan Island were rather appealing. Believing the island was
This
American
lazy
territory, around a
settler.
dozen American settlers
Yep.
moved there in the late 1850s. One of them was a man named Lyman Cutler, a young man in his mid-20s, and
that's true.
lazy as pie. He didn't want to have to clear a space in the forest to build his home, so he said, I'll just build my cabin right in the middle of this British sheep run. I'm sure
No,
that won't make
that's
anyone
one.
mad. When he planted potato seeds in his garden, rather than building a nice protective fence around them, he said, I'll just fence in 3 sides and hope all these British farm animals have a moral compass and
Yep,
respect my
that's
property
true.
rights.
Porky.
Griffin's pig was a Berkshire, well known for
Yep,
rooting, and
that's
Lyman's
true.
fairly pathetic fence made for a bad
Fairly
combination.
pathetic
Numerous
fence.
times
Wow.
he had to chase the pig away from his property, and he once angrily marched up to Griffin's home, saying, Hey, British farm idiot, keep your stupid pig out of my potatoes. It is up to you to keep your potatoes
Can use
out of
out of my pig. Yeah.
Griffin was
Wow.
furious with his new American neighbors. They built their homes all over his sheep pastures. And besides, what right did they have to be here anyway? It was British territory. Lyman, on the other hand, swore the local government had assured him his land claims were legitimate. And so to him, the British were out of line.
That's true.
Look at that sick freak. In love with his pig. Isn't that just sick? Yeah, what a freak. Not like our love, Spuddy. Ours is all natural. Yep, just a man and his potato. Nothing wrong with that. Mwah. But the tension between Lyman and Griffin was just about to explode. Huh? What the? Spuddy?
Buddy.
All right, you
Uh-oh.
damn dirty pig. That's the final straw.
Bad idea. Now I feel
Lyman
that dude's Lyman's
shot
gonna be
the pig.
murdered.
After taking a second to calm down, he felt bad about murdering Griffin's prized boar. So he went to him and said, Hey man, look, I kinda just
Kill your
killed
pig.
It was eating my potatoes again, and I don't know, man. I kinda
No, I
just
think Griffin's just
killed
gonna
your
go
pig.
insane.
Killed your pig. Killed your pig.
Yes, eyes have become bigger.
You swine! No,
Wow.
no, the swine is the one I killed. I'm lying.
And I feel they're just gonna beat each
Griffin
other up.
demanded Lyman pay $100 for the loss of the pig, an outrageous sum
Smart.
at the time. Obviously, Lyman refused, threatening to shoot any more animals that dared enter his property, even threatening to shoot Griffin himself. When Griffin complained to James Douglas, British officials went and confronted the pig killer. Again, they insisted he pay up,
Guns.
and if he didn't, Lyman claimed they threatened to arrest him and take him back to Victoria. British officials arresting an American on American soil and trying him under British law? Now that's controversial.
Yep.
And it's a controversy that attracted the attention of an American general in charge of the Department of Oregon, one William S. Harney. This
Who's
guy,
that dude?
General Harney, had a reputation. He's the kind of guy who invades Mexico without orders, wasting valuable resources
this
and creating
dude.
an embarrassing situation for everyone involved. He's the kind of guy who has one of his own men arrested for writing the wrong header on a report. He's the kind of guy who finds a dog digging up his yard and then chases it for 1.5 miles just to give it a beating. He
Digging his
hated
yard?
superiors,
Wow.
hated being told what to do.
What
and had
was
been-
that?
He's the kind of guy who
Wait,
finds a
dog
dog
in the
digging
yard.
up his yard and then chases
Wow.
it for 1.5 miles just to give it a beating. He hated
Lol,
superiors,
wow.
hated being told what to do, and had been court-martialed 4 times for disobeying orders.
Amazing.
Contemporaries described him as an imbecile, all matter and no mind, an arrogant humbug,
All
and
matter,
a
no mind.
laughingstock. Like I said, General Harney had a reputation. He hated the British and was out for any opportunity to earn personal glory for himself. By some accounts, he even wanted to become president. And so,
What?
in July
Okay, that's
1859,
ludicrous.
when he happened to visit San Juan Island, and he learned of the plight of the Americans living there, the shooting of a
Darn me.
pig, and the British threat to arrest Lyman Cutler, General Harney went into scheme mode. Hey yo, Captain Pickett. Yes, sir.
Oh,
Listen
Pickett.
carefully. I need
He's
you to
using
go
an
pick up some
iron and a
flowers
banana.
and bring them to my place
No.
later. I've got a plan. Here I am, sir. What's the plan?
Flowers?
Pickett,
Poison
you and
flowers?
I are going to start a war.
What? Oh.
What do you mean, sir? Okay, listen up. An American man shoots a worthless pig on San Juan Island.
not
and the
worthless,
British
very
threaten to arrest
worth.
him. Outrageous.
That one had it on
But we
first.
can use it. We get the settlers there to send us a petition saying they need American troops for protection. That's when you go with your men and occupy the island. The British will find American troops on an island they consider theirs so offensive, they won't hesitate to blow you to smithereens. Then, it's war. We bring in reinforcements
Wow.
and we fight back. I'll write to Washington, D.C., letting them know what's happening. But here's the kicker.
Wow.
My letter will take
Amazing.
6 whole weeks to get there. Before the government even gets a chance to respond, telling me I'm an idiot and ordering me to cease fire, the island will be ours. Hell, we could even invade Vancouver Island or British Columbia.
Amazing.
It's foolproof. Wow. Very impressive, sir.
This
But I gotta
Pickett
ask,
actually is not
why?
that smart.
Well, I'll level with you, Pickett. Historians still contest exactly what it is I'm trying to do here. It's possible I'm trying to
Well,
expand America's territory.
maybe.
I'm trying to play the hero so I can become
Maybe.
president. Some have even suggested that since I'm a slave-owning Southerner, I may be trying to create a diversion to help
Yeah,
the South
that's
succeed in the
true.
upcoming Civil War. But if there's one
That's
thing
like the
almost
most
everyone can
used
agree on,
reason.
it's that I'm an idiot.
Yep.
I see. But
The last two ones are
hold
smart.
on. What you tell me to bring flowers for? Because, Pickett, they're pretty and I like them. There are also
Lol.
historians who believe that Harney and
Wow,
Pickett had
amazing.
no secret plan at all, and were not scheming masterminds, but simply hot-headed buffoons, genuinely
No, not
outraged
Pickett.
at
I'm
the
sure it was
audacity of the
Harney.
British and trying to protect
Maybe not
American
Pickett.
citizens. But the fact of the matter is, Pickett took the very controversial and extremely
Wow.
provocative act of landing American troops on disputed territory. He set up his camp in a very exposed position and erected a very provocative sign proclaiming that only American laws applied on the island. It was almost like he was asking to be fired upon. Or, again,
Amazing.
maybe he was just an idiot. When a British official sent to the island to get rid of the unruly American settlers now saw that there were American troops, he demanded they leave.
Outrageous.
He was obviously told to go suck an egg. When Douglas found
Lol.
out, he was enraged. To him, the American landing constituted an invasion. Harney sent a report back to the War Department in D.C. justifying
this
his
bit's over, I
actions
think
with
we should
exaggerated
stop
claims
the
of
bit.
British villainy. But he knew it would take 6 weeks to get there, and another
Yeah.
6 weeks for the reply to come back. For now, the situation was entirely in the hands of local military and
Okay, so we're gonna stop now since I want to leave this as a cliffhanger right here. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. My first video in so long. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.